So we just recently picked up a Jayco Journey 15-foot caravan. It comes with a water tank. There's no water pump or hot water unit. So I'm in the process of installing both of those. I was originally going to put it in under there because the sink is right here. But that's where a lot of our storage space is. So, pardon the mess, I'm actually going to put it under the seat here. So there's the hot water unit. There's the specs. It's a dual element, so it runs off 240 volt and 12 volts. I didn't go with a gas system just because I didn't want to worry about having to vent the gas and all that sort of crap. So anyway, I've done it this way. I'm also going to be upgrading the batteries to 250 amp hour lithium batteries, which I'll do in a separate video. So that's the hot water unit. I've got the pump here. I've got an accumulator here, which just helps stops any sort of pump cycling. It helps with the pump cycling anyway. Got a heap of fittings and stuff and a heap of pipe. So I'm just going to get the rough layout. Well, I think I'm going to do this anyway. It's going to be something like this. Something like that. I do have a schematic here, something I've drawn up. Anyway, so we're going to have the water coming from the tank, through the filter, through the pump, into the accumulator, out of the accumulator on this pipe. There's a one-way check valve here. It's going to come around here, into the T, from the T into the hot water unit, onto the input. From the other end of the T, that's actually going to go across to the other side of the van and connect. I'm going to cut into the mains, the water main connection. So if we're at a caravan park, that will then feed the hot water unit. And then obviously out of the hot water unit, I'm just going to need to get a fitting to go across to the hot water input on the mixer. So I'll just get a little bit of a start on this. I've had to make it just a couple of little riser brackets on the accumulator just so these are the same height, just so I can go straight from one to the other. And I've also got some of these little rubber pads which I'm going to put under the feet of the pump and the accumulator just to try and reduce any vibration when the pump's running. All right. Okay, so I've managed to get most of this stuff installed. It's a little bit messy at the moment, just got to tidy it up. So what I've done is over under the sink. The way they had previously plumbed this van from the factory, because the mixer's got a hot and cold input, all they had done off the cold mains input is put a T-piece and then that connected to the hot side of the mixer. So what I did is disconnect that, it's a bit hard to see, and put another pipe from that T-piece, which is coming off the mains. That is this one here. This one you can see here. So that is coming off the mains and across to here. So then that is feeding the hot water unit. As well as that, we have, there's a non-return valve which I put in over there. So as well as that, we're feeding the hot water unit from here, which comes around from the pump. So this connects to the tank, through the filter, through the pump, through the accumulator, around into here. So that feeds the hot water unit, the non-return valve here. Now what happens is, if there is no mains pressure, this will also backfeed through there. Up here, there's a T-piece just in here, and then there's a non-return valve on this side, which is the side that connects to your tap, the incoming tap. So then again, if there's no mains pressure, the pump will pump up here, try and go this way, it can't, and then it'll come out the cold side of the mixer. So that's that side of it. Now the hot side, if I come back over here, out of the hot water unit, we've got the hot side, which comes to here. I've just got a valve here, and then that comes down there, and you can see the corresponding red taped hose over there, and that goes directly to the hot side of the mixer. So that's pretty straightforward. And then now I'm getting into the wiring. So as I said earlier, this is a 240 and a 12 volt element inside there. So there's two sets of wiring to do. So that's the plug that comes straight off the hot water unit. Then we've got some 12 volt cables which are for the 12 volt element. So I've come through a junction here, it's going to come around there, and I'm going to put a small enclosure here, switchboard, whatever you want to call it. And then I've got cables here that come, they run under the van, across there to there, which is where the battery and inverter are going to go. As well as that, I have some connections for the pump. So these are for the pump, they run through there and then connect up over onto the pump. This is just a signal wire which you need 12 volt to run the screen on here. This is just a cable. I'm relocating this tyre link, which is a tyre pressure indicator. Now that was right at the rear of the van next to the battery, and obviously when you're driving, this doesn't connect the distance to the car, it's too far, so I'm putting that under the bed at the front. What else have I got here? That's it. So that's all that wire inside there. Now if I come around here, what I've done is I've installed, this is the remote for the inverter, the on off for the inverter. I didn't want to cut through the front panel here, so it's easy enough just to lift that up and turn the inverter on. This is an isolator, so this isolates the hot water unit and the pump. So it's just a means of turning it off manually. Now you can do all this via the app, but I just thought I'd put a manual on-off switch in there. And this just needs to all be connected and tidied up. So this is where the pipes run from side to side under the van. So where I've come through the floor, I've basically come out just behind this cross member, so I can get some cable ties along here, but also so the pipes will tuck up in behind there and they'll be protected from any stones or any rocks that they hit. This is the hot water pipe, so I'm just covering this in some insulation under there. I think this is 13 mil thick, just to try and obviously stop any loss of heat as it goes from the hot water unit to the tap. Once I've got this on, I'll cable tie all that in under there and tidy it up, and then just keep going. So that's what the finished product looks like. I've sealed the entry hole and I've wrapped the foam insulation just with some duct tape, just to keep it on the pipe with no issues. Obviously quite a lot of cable ties just to keep it tucked up in behind here. The front of the van's this way, so this is all protected. The other pipes are up in behind there. And what I'll do is I'll just shimmy down here and show you what I've done at this end. This is the water tank connection. So this is where the pipe comes off the water tank to go to the hand pump. So what I've done is I've cut a T in there, and then this one goes to the 12 volt pump, and this continues up to the hand pump. What I've done up inside the cupboard is put just a tap on that pipe, so if that tap wasn't there when the 12 volt pump was trying to run, it would just be sucking air
through the hand pump. So obviously if I close that tap, then the water can only come through here to the pump instead of sucking air down through here. And I've put some stainless steel clamps on just to make sure that doesn't leak. And then if I wanted to, I've only got one tank, I want to actually put another tank in behind the axle there. So then I'm going to have to plumb that in and connect it into here as well. So the pump can pump water out of both tanks. And what I'll end up doing is putting a tap probably here and then one on the other tank, so I can pump out of both tanks, or close one and pump out of only one tank and do it that way.
So this is the finished product for the hot water unit control. So you can see the cables come in here from the battery compartment. So you've got 240 volt and 12 volt coming up into here, obviously through some circuit breakers. Then out of here, loops up and around. The 240 volt is obviously here, which plugs into the hot water unit. And the 12 volt continues around here and then joins onto the hot water unit cables here. The pump cable, the pump control power is also there, which continues through there and hooks onto the pump. This is just a relay for the 12 volts. So basically you need the 12 volt control cable here to be turned on, and that's turned on via this switch that I put in over here. So even if there's 12 volt power coming to these terminal blocks, unless the control circuit is on, the power actually won't come through the relay. That's just a way of protecting the hot water unit if there's no water in there. I don't want this the 12 volt element just to be on. So you need to manually come over here, turn that switch on, because you know there's water in the unit. Once you know there's water in the unit, you turn that switch on, the relay activates, and it allows the 12 volt power to come through. I was going to do something similar to the 240 volt, but I figure that's pretty easy because I can just, the 240 volt power comes from here, so I can either just turn it on and off here, the same as I can do here. So that's this end pretty much finished. I just have to tidy this up and then just connect the cables into the projector 235, and then we can test it. Okay, so what I'm up to now is getting water through the system and just checking for any leaks. What I have done is gone through and put these ends on all of the cut pipes. They just make sure they seal better. You don't necessarily need them, but it just guarantees a good seal on the push fittings. And I've also put the locking rings, as you can see, the lock rings on each of the fittings to stop them popping out. Again, you don't necessarily need them, but they're cheap enough to put in, so I've done that. So what I can do is, without turning on the actual hot water element, I'm going to go and turn the pump on here. Okay, so the pump should run, even though the tap's not running, but it's running because it's filling up the hot water unit. That's why it's running. Oh, so that should be full. So the pump has stopped. Now if I turn the tap on here, it should start up again. There it goes. Okay, that's pretty good flow rate. Okay. Now the only other things I've added here, this small clear hose comes off the pressure relief valve off the hot water unit, so that's just a drain. And then this bigger clear hose is if I ever want to drain the hot water unit underneath the van. I've just put another tap
which I'll quickly come out and show you. Okay, which is leaking, so I just need to tighten that up. So this will drain the hot water unit. Oh, found a leak, so I need to fix that up, but that's all that's for. So I've found a slight issue with the system. So at the moment I've got the mains water connected and the pump is turned on. So if I turn the tap on here, I didn't think the pump would activate because there's mains pressure there, but the pump still activates. Okay, so now the way I've wired this, unfortunately, because I've put a single switch here which activates the hot water unit and the pump, one way around it was I could have put a double switch there, one for the pump, one for the hot water unit. But what I can actually do on the projector app is I can turn the pump off via the app. So if I'm connected to mains, what I can do is via the app turn the pump off. That way it won't just run for no reason, because then I can have the hot water switch on. I didn't think that would happen, but anyway, that's just what's happened. So what I've done is I've turned on the 240 volt element. So you can see there it's heating 240 volts. Now the 240 volt is a set temperature, so you can adjust it up or down here, but it doesn't actually show you on the gauge there. That's only for the 12 volt element. So I'm just going to try the 240 for now, and then I'll try the 12 volt element later. So we'll see if it heats. So the way this unit works is if there's 240 volts available, this red lamp turns on to show that the 240 volt element is working. And if the 240 volt is on, this screen actually turns off. So if I actually turn the 240 volts on over here, you should see this screen turn off. There you go. The element light shows up there, 240 volt heating. So that's now heating, and you can adjust it here, higher or lower. That's just a rotary dial, not too specific. But if I turn the 240 volts off, this will come back on, and it shows the temperature at the moment, which is for the 12 volt element, and it is adjustable, so you can make it go up or down to a certain range. I can't remember what the ranges are. Okay, so now it's heating, so the temperature is 60 degrees. If I turn it up again, it'll flash because it's heating, and the 12 volt element is on. And I can show you here, it is pulling 24 amps DC. Okay, so that's rated at 25 amps, I think. Where is it here? 25 amps DC it's rated at. So it's pulling pretty much that, 24.7. So that is heating off the 12 volt element. So if I come over here and run the hot water, that is hot. So earlier on I mentioned a sketch that I'd drawn up before I started this. You'll have to bear with me, it's very rough. But basically this shows how this system works. So if we start at this end, there's your tank. Originally it was just connected straight through here to the hand pump at the sink. What I've done is I've put a T in there, and in fact this tap is now here under the sink. Anyway, so from the T it goes through a one-way valve, through the filter, the pump and the expansion vessel. There's another one-way valve there. So that's all that gear is under the seat.
then it goes across to, then it continues through. This is a little slightly different to what I've done. But anyway, it continues through, and under the sink it tees into the incoming mains. So if this is the mains, it tees into that, and then continues through another check valve to the hot water unit, and then the hot water comes out here. So there's two scenarios. Okay, you're connected to the mains water. So the mains water will come in here. There's another one-way valve here. Mains water comes in, it splits here, it goes through the hot water unit to the hot tap and goes this way, tries to come here. It can't continue because of the one-way valve, so then it goes to the cold tap. That's it. And then if you're not on mains and you're on the tank, when you open the tap, it sees the loss in pressure, so it activates the pump, sucks water through here, which then obviously goes up to the cold tap, and then it can also tries to go this way, so it can go this way. It can't come out the mains, but it can go through here and through the heater and out the hot water unit. So it's a pretty basic system, and as I say, I've connected it all up and it works pretty good, so I'm happy with it. But we'll wait and see till we give it a run on the first camping trip. Thanks for watching.